It is 2 o'clock in the morning. You are 800 kilometers from the nearest coastline. The ocean is 4,000 meters deep beneath you, and every light on the ship just went out. The engines stopped. The ventilation stopped. The navigation system stopped. The pumps that keep water out of the lower decks stopped. 6,000 people are now on a vessel with no propulsion, no steering, and no power, drifting in open ocean in complete darkness. This is called a blackout, and it is one of the most serious emergencies a ship can face. Most people assume that if a ship loses power, it simply drifts until someone comes to help. That assumption misses almost everything that actually happens in the first 30 seconds, the first 5 minutes, and the first hour after a blackout occurs. A modern ship is not a passive object. It is an active system. And when that system loses power, a carefully designed sequence of responses begins, automatically, without human intervention, because the engineers who designed the vessel knew that human reaction time is not fast enough. Let me walk you through exactly what happens. The moment a ship loses main electrical power, the first response is automatic. Every large vessel is equipped with an emergency generator, a completely independent power source, physically separated from the main engine room, with its own fuel supply, its own cooling system, and its own starting mechanism. International maritime regulations require this emergency generator to start automatically within 45 seconds of a main power failure. On most modern vessels, it starts in 15 to 30 seconds. This generator does not restore full ship power. It is not designed to. Its purpose is to power the systems that keep people alive and give the crew the ability to respond. Emergency lighting activates throughout the ship. Navigation lights come back on, legally required to remain lit at all times to prevent collision. The bridge regains power. Communication systems come online. Fire detection and suppression systems restart. Bilge pumps, the pumps that remove water from the lower hull, resume operation. The ship is still without propulsion. It is still drifting, but it is no longer blind. Now the real problem begins. A ship without propulsion is not just inconvenient, it is actively dangerous. A vessel underway has steerage, the ability to control its direction. A vessel without propulsion loses steerage within minutes, as speed drops below the minimum required for the rudder to function. At that point, the ship becomes subject to wind and current. It will orient itself beam on to the waves, broadside, which is the worst possible position in heavy seas. A ship in beam-on orientation rolls much more severely than one heading into or away from waves. In storm conditions, this can become life-threatening. Cargo shifts. Loose equipment becomes projectile. Passengers and crew cannot stand. And if the rolling is severe enough, stability margins can be approached. This is why restoring propulsion is the first engineering priority after a blackout. Not comfort, not hotel systems, not stabilizers. Propulsion. The process of restoring main power depends entirely on why the power was lost. The most common cause of a complete ship blackout is an overload or fault on the main electrical bus, the central distribution system that carries power from the generators to every system on the ship. A fault here can trigger a cascade. One generator trips, load shifts to the remaining generators, they become overloaded, they trip as well. Within seconds, all main power is gone. This is called a blackout cascade, and it happens faster than any human can intervene. Restoring power requires engineers to isolate the fault, restart the generators in sequence, and carefully reconnect loads in a controlled order, starting with critical systems and gradually adding non-essential loads. On a modern vessel with experienced engineers, this process can take between 20 minutes and several hours, depending on the cause and severity of the fault. During this time, the ship is drifting. In open ocean, drifting is manageable. There is space. There are no reefs, no shoals, no other vessels at close quarters. The emergency systems keep people safe. The crew works to restore power. The situation is serious but controlled. In confined waters, drifting is potentially catastrophic. In 2013, the cruise ship Carnival Triumph lost propulsion in the Gulf of Mexico following an engine room fire. The ship drifted for 5 days with 3,200 passengers on board. Emergency power kept essential systems running, but without propulsion, the vessel could not navigate. It had to be towed to port. In 2019, the Viking Sky cruise ship suffered a complete engine failure off the coast of Norway in severe storm conditions. The ship came within 100 meters of running aground on a rocky coastline before one engine was restarted. Passengers were airlifted by helicopter while the ship was still in danger. These cases illustrate exactly what maritime engineers design against, and exactly where the margins become uncomfortably thin. Now let me go one level deeper into the engineering. A large cruise ship operates on a power system comparable in complexity to a small city's electrical grid. Total installed generating capacity can exceed 100 megawatts. This power comes from multiple diesel generators, typically 6 to 10 units, running in parallel, managed by an automatic power management system that continuously balances load across all operating generators. The reason multiple generators run simultaneously is redundancy. If one fails, the others absorb the load. The power management system does this automatically, shedding non-essential loads if necessary to prevent an overload cascade. The Achilles heel of this system is the main switchboard, the central electrical distribution point where all generators connect and from which all loads are fed. A fault at the switchboard can take down the entire system regardless of how many generators are running. Modern vessels address this by splitting the electrical system into 2 or more independent sections, each with its own generators and switchboard. A fault in one section does not automatically propagate to the other. This is called a split bus or closed bus configuration, and it is now standard on vessels built under the latest classification society rules. The emergency generator sits entirely outside this system. It connects directly to the emergency switchboard, which feeds only the critical safety systems. It cannot be affected by a fault on the main system because it is physically and electrically isolated from it. This layered architecture, main system, split bus, emergency generator, emergency switchboard, is the engineering response to the fundamental reality that at sea, power failure is not a question of if. It is a question of when and how severe. The system has limits. Emergency generators have finite fuel capacity. On most vessels, the emergency generator fuel tank holds enough for 18 to 36 hours of operation. If main power cannot be restored within that window, which would be an extreme scenario, the situation becomes significantly more serious. Fire is the most dangerous cause of blackout because it can destroy the systems needed to restore power. The engine room contains the main generators, the main switchboard, and the fuel systems that feed everything. An engine room fire that cannot be contained can render a ship permanently dead in the water. The Costa Concordia grounding in 2012, the El Faro sinking in 2015, and the Scandinavian Star fire in 1990 all involved scenarios where the loss of power, or the loss of the systems needed to restore it, directly contributed to the outcome. So what actually happens when a ship loses power in the ocean? In the first 30 seconds, the emergency generator starts automatically. Critical systems come back online. The bridge regains visibility and communication. In the first 30 minutes, engineers work to identify the fault and begin the process of restoring main power. The ship drifts. The crew manages the vessel's orientation as best they can with whatever systems are available. In the first few hours, main power is typically restored on vessels with experienced crews and no physical damage to the power systems. Normal operations resume. When it does not go that way, when the fault is severe, when fire is involved, when the ship is in confined waters, the outcome depends on proximity to shore, sea state, available tugs, and the speed of the crew's response. The ocean does not wait. A ship without power is not a ship. It is a very large object being acted on by wind, current, and wave, drifting toward whatever happens to be downwind. The engineering exists to buy time. The emergency generator buys 30 seconds. The split bus architecture buys the ability to isolate faults. The redundant generators buy the ability to restart. Every layer of the system buys time for the engineers below decks to fix what broke. And when you are 800 kilometers from the nearest coastline, time is the only currency that matters. If you want to understand the power system that runs when everything is working, how a ship generates and distributes over 100 megawatts of electricity while underway, I have covered that in another video. The engineering behind it explains exactly why blackouts happen and why they are so difficult to prevent entirely.